Welcome back to Realistic Progression 1, and the ice caps have melted. No, this is just one of those things you get with, again, unfortunately, with Realistic Progression. Just the way it flattens out the height map for all the terrain means that occasionally your KSP, sort of, your space center, is underwater. You can see it's still here, but we just can't actually get to it. Yeah, so that just needs a reload. And there we go, one reload later, and we've got dawn at the Space Center. Yes, so at the end of the last episode, remember we built that craft that had the extra solar panels on the side. That turns out to have more than enough solar power, i.e. electric charge, for our vessels. The only problem is antennas. The antennas that we have at the moment, let's go into the vehicle assembly building. The antennas we have at the moment just aren't long enough range. I put two of them on the top of that probe. Nope. As soon as it got near the very edge of Earth's sphere of influence, poof, out it went, out of connection. So we don't have the range. We're going to need a better antenna for that. So let's just see. I don't think we have any better antennas. See, in normal KSP, you can just add another antenna to get more range, but I don't quite know if RP1 or even RP0 previously or RealismOverhaul does that. I don't know if you can just add range like that. And it's not like we have anything better than this, and this is what we're already using. So it has 4 megameters. That's 2 megameters. 400 kilometers. So this is the best we can get at the moment. So we can either add one and see whether that works. May as well have a look. It's a good test, I guess. So we've got 2 on the top of here. We can instead go to 3. And this, of course, will depend on whether I have enough power to power 3 of them. But we can go to activate mode. We don't want toggle. Just activate will do fine. And go back in here, pop this back on the side, and make sure they're in the right place. Okay, so we can save, and we can launch one of those, put it onto the build list. But while we're at it, let's go and take a look, because it will take about 70 days or so. We're not doing this for a specific mission, just to get more science. We can take a look at where we might get some more antenna nodes from our research and development tree. That is the RP1 tree, and the ice caps have melted again. I'm not reloading just for that. I'm sure it'll come back fairly soon. So interplanetary communications is the node that we need. And then we've got a bunch of things in here. So what are these? So that's 75 megameters. So that's, you know, like 4 times the range. 4 times the range? 40 times the range. A gigameter, 3 gigameters. I suspect they're going to use quite a lot of electric charge or watts. Power consumption 35 watts. Power consumption 25 watts. How about that's 50 watts? This is probably huge or something, is it? No, they're the same mass. So what's the... Oh, it's a cone angle. Okay, so this has a wider cone. Yeah, that's sort of fine, as it says in the description. Rather wide cone and high bandwidth for comms satellites in geostationary orbit. Live video from the moon and similar tasks. Effective range 75 gigameters. Okay, and here that is marginally better than those extendable ones. It's, you know, 50% better, I guess. But depends if you can add more of one of them on the same probe. And that one's non-RealismOverhaul. Okay. But yes to RP0. I'm not quite sure how that works, but in any case, we probably want at least this one. We might be able to get away with this. It does snap under pressure, but we've got to get all of this node first of all, and that's actually rather cheap. So if we can get away with that, they'll just get it, maybe just get us space science, and we'll go from there. This would obviously be better, yeah, to have. So interplanetary communications, where is that on our queue of things that we need to... Let me just see if I can try and find the launch pad. There we go. And so we've got 1963 Orbital Rocketry next. That's coming up in 61 days. Early flight control. Ascent, entry, descent and landing. So where is... Oh, it's all the way down there. But it doesn't take very long to actually research. So why don't we just do that, move it up. And we'll do it after we do this 1960 Orbital Rocketry. I'll do the flight of that Test Explorer 7 just to see if it works the same way for antennas off camera. But we will warp to, I guess, 1960 Orbital Rocketry first. And do excuse the flickering. Not much I can really do about that. Okay, it's coming to nighttime. Might be better as a dark screen, really. So 1960 Orbital Rocketry. Then, what and where are you? There you are. So what upgrades do we get? Okay, so we get the RD-0110s. So a Molniya launch vehicle. Yeah, Russian, obviously, RD. New AJ-10s. New AJ-10s. I want AJ-10s. They're the upper stage engine. So good. The LR-79 upgrade again, which is also great. The 89, which is the booster engines. We haven't really used those so far. More Russian engines. And do we have anything else? No, I think the next one is 1960 Orbital Rocketry then. And that would take 31 points. And that would have... Ooh, that's the mid AJ-10. I really want that at some point. We need 31 sites to get to it. So this is the last of the AJ-10 earlies, which is probably the last of the limited restarts, i.e. one ignition. So we can switch to the 142. Probably not going to do that for this test flight because it's only really testing in those antennas and how they work in RB1. And yeah, so let me do that and then we'll come back for some more. I'll probably get us through to interplanetary communications because the next thing up is this in 8 days. And we can get through that. And then we can roll it out, etc. And by that point, we'll be a third chunk into interplanetary communications. And here we are on that antenna verification flight, just to see if we can use multiple. Let's see it going out there. Of course, this is where it's heading to. That's our maneuver node. Earth escape. Out we go. So a little bit better than expected. And it's going to head out this way on this path. And it's going to head out all the way over to here. So it's not quite to Mars orbit, but it doesn't matter too much for this flight at least. And we need to get back out into the sunlight, don't we? So let's take a look at our electric charge. It's obviously going down now because we've got no sunlight, but hopefully let's just get out from behind the Earth. And there we go. We've got full electric charge and we've got 3 of these things. Okay, so will you give me any more range? Where is, let me zoom all the way back in again. And let's get all the way out to say, can we zoom at, warp all the way out there? All right, do we get range? Yes, I think we do. Good. So if I can just increase that, so we can use multiple antennas still. Good. Good to know that that hasn't significantly changed the game. And we got space high over the sun. So we got telemetry analysis and we've got cosmic ray science. Of course, we don't have any other science experiments on here. Both of those are fine. We can load up another craft like this to get more solar science, which will be very, very useful. And let's just get all that data uploaded. And some view as well. 6 science. We need 30 though. I think 30 odd, was it? What we said? So we're going to need more science than this. However, that's okay because the next thing we need to do is... are you finished? You are finished. Good. And we're on 18. So we need another 12 science from somewhere. That is fine. Back to the Space Center. Or rather, back to the vehicle assembly building, because it's time to redesign this again and get a better rocket going, I think. I'm just going to call this temporarily. Let's get rid of this for a second and call it Lunar 2, maybe? Yeah. Okay, so what are we going to get rid of? We're going to have to retool a lot of this. So first of all, we're going to get rid of these fairings. Goodbye. And we're going to take off all this bottom stage. The fact that we have 4 boosters there is fine. We can... we're going to have to rework the... whoops. Oh, can I attach you in the right place again? Are you attached? You are? Good. I do need to rework the avionics, though. I did notice on a couple of those flights we do start off without any avionics control, so I want that to be fairly legitimate, which means I need to come in here, look at avionics, and that says, no, not enough. We need a little bit more. So let's just increase that up to, how much is that increasing costs by? Probably should increase the size of it, and that will probably reduce the cost. Let's have a look. 100, 200, 300. Yeah, so the more I increase the size, the less of the cost, but at the same time, more issues. Okay, so that is good enough. We can probably get away with it around there or so. Depends how heavy the fairings are going to be. We'll have to have a look at the Delta V stats later, but so we can take that stage. Let's just save that for a second, just in case. And I'm going to take that stage off and leave it aside. So now we've got the upper stage. And we've got this avionics unit. We've got this, and all of this should really be in its own bay. Sorry, all this should be in its own bay rather than having all of this in the bay as well. This has only been a tiny tank up to now. So let's take a look. What variant do we have at the moment? Computer's pausing a little bit. Okay, so engine. We have the AJ10-101. And we can go up to the AJ10-142. So let's take a look at those. So the AJ10. I know I can see you somewhere. AJ10. So let's take a look. AJ10-101, which is what we currently have, 150 seconds. And what's the 142? 150 seconds as well. Okay, so I don't need to change anything regarding tank size, but we probably should, just to get it to the right size so it doesn't fit inside a payload bay. It's actually part of the rocket. Okay, so 142. Let's see what the 142 versus the 141 is. So 142 is here, 34.25 kilonewtons, and the 101 is 33.4. So yeah, it's maybe 5% extra, and the ISP is the same. Okay, and they're both pressure fed, they're both one ignition, so it's just going to be a better upper stage engine. So there's no real reason that we shouldn't move across to the 142, even if we upgrade that on older craft as well. And in fact, let me just double check what the difference of that is. So 101, is there any actual difference in terms of this? 3697, no. Okay, why does that not give me any change? I have more thrust, but what's the sea level thrust rather than the Delta V? Let's just double check that again. 101. Yeah, it's just slightly more thrust, but the same amount of Delta V. So you can see it just changing right there, you see? Thrust to weight ratio. Okay, so yeah, that is fine with me. So we need to redevelop this stage, I think. So what size have we got for this? And let's just, while we're at it, we'll probably want to upgrade the other rocket engine as well. The other rocket engine is all the way down here at the bottom, the LR79. So we can go from the NA9 to the NA11. That gives us 12,000 funds. And let's take a look at what that actually does. It's this line, that's number 6. So watch that line when I click on this button. Okay, and click back. So it's slightly worse. But is it better sea level thrust? Sea level thrust is 2.02, 2.31. So slightly worse Delta V, but it's more powerful. It will let us take off faster, essentially. And what's the time like for it? So that's 1.22, 1 minute 22. However, we need to look at its stats. So the LR, where are you? And I wish they'd fix this pausing, but that's a bug from the pre-release, I think. So LR79 doesn't matter which one of these I click on, I don't think. So the NA9. NA11 is 165 seconds. NA9 is 165. So they're both exactly the same there. And NA9 and 11. Okay, so it is it's a fair bit more powerful. It's a little bit heavier, and it's a little bit better ISP. So no reason to use both of them, I don't think. So let's leave those as that is, and let's save that again. And let me just check, what is the size of this? Diameter is 1.9. Okay, so what do we get if we want 1 minute, was it, what was it for this? 165 seconds, was it? AJ10, 142, 150 seconds. So essentially 2 minutes 30, which is what it nearly is now. What do we do if we expand that? That's reasonable, I think. Now, if we put this back in place, it's not going to play well. It's going to try, because this is a payload fairing. We don't want a payload fairing. We're going to have an interstage. That is fine. So let's put you in place. And now with this, we're going to need interstage fairings. Conic is fine. Let me actually just change the number of nodes here if we can. Fairing nodes is going to be 2. And that is fine, I think. So let's just put those on. That's one of them. And now what we probably want to do, now that one's on, is change this by changing the extra height to bring down, see, there we go. See where the gap is? So we just want to bring that back up to just where there we go. That seems fine. And then we can just grab this again, flip it onto 2, and we should have a much smoother rocket with an AJ10 upper stage. And then we have a payload fairing or payload bay ready to go. And in that case, payload. So it's still the interstage. I don't think I want, well, we may want the extended. If you wanted to put like a domed tank on top, you almost certainly want the extended. But we have this here, so we can, I guess, just attach this. Change its size to be 1.5, because that's what it needs to attach at the bottom. Okay, and now we've got a much smaller payload bay. Yeah, that's really quite small. So that's quite good for as far as what I'm thinking. We're going to have to rearrange all the staging, but that's not much of an issue. And then, of course, we're going to need not the interstage fairings. Make sure you don't choose those. We can go for conic, I guess. Procedural. And now we have what looks like a bullet. Well, a bullet with a very long casing. It's more like a very large rifle bullet of some kind. So our interstage node was actually, well, our interstage section was actually malfunctioning. I was only getting 700 something meters per second here, and that's just because the placement that I did the first case was wrong. So I thought I'd just show you how to do that, just in case you're doing this yourself. And you get, where's the, there we go. Let's remove these fairings, and let's remove this. Now, you might be tempted just to try and snap this into place. Don't. Please don't. Take off the engine. And now use, if we just, in fact, let me just attach this for a second. If we just take this off, so you get the idea. You see there's a few nodes there you can attach to. Attach the upper one to your tank, like that. Okay. Now that doesn't leave any node to attach the engine to, but don't worry, we'll get to that. So we can attach the lower tank, and now we can increase the height. I've reduced the extra height to 0. And we can increase the height all the way up here just to give us a little bit of working room. Then we can put the engine back on. It doesn't matter where we put it back on, really. So, whoops, I need to make sure I attach one engine. So let's put it over here. You see, obviously that was a terrible idea because that's not in the right place. But if we go to the move tool, make sure the snap is on in some way. If you don't have editor extensions, then just change to the hexagon symbol there and choose this. Then we're going to sort of move it, and it's going to only allow snapping in these directions. So that's on the center line, but not far enough across, and there. We're directly back in the center again. Then we can grab this and decrease the height to whatever we want to. In this case, about there, so it looks fine. And then we can reattach the fairings, and they'll snap to the correct height because we don't need extra height anymore. We can use the actual height. So like this, and we can then just up it or bring it back down with the fairings attached. At which point I then have to recheck my staging. So let's just check. That's going to detach. These are going to go first, so let's put them down there. This is going to detach. Those are separate stages, so that's going to have to move down. And spin motors, yes, yes, yes. And just make sure, yeah, so that's all fine. You'll notice the delta V is a little less than our Explorer 7, even though it's got an Explorer 7. And let's just check up here for a second. I've put in some various science, trying to see which one solar science does, and we're going to put them on the actual body of the Altair here. Hopefully this will still make it into interplanetary space. But yeah, I just want more of that solar science so we can retest this now. So you are in the right. Are you in the right place still? Yes, yes, you are. Okay, so time to test this out. And here we are in Ascent, and I haven't tooled any of these parts, but of course this payload fairing should be quite cheap because it's much smaller. We're just approaching the interstage separation, so I just want to check to make sure this is all working, hopefully as intended. Let's see that in a second. We will also lose the payload fairings at the same time. So in it comes. Payload fairings separated. Main body has also separated, although I think we're probably going to need some sort of separatrons to pull this first stage away from the second one. You'll see it's emerging slowly now because it is actually a separate thing, but we probably want to lose that first stage. So if we can put some separation motors down near the bottom, which will pull it backwards slightly. That's one option, down near those sort of vernier thrusters. Or, you know, well, there's various options here. So let's just keep going towards our orbital insertion stage. And the rest of this should go as before. So I'm not going to cover this on camera. Other than to say that each of these engines are still being researched and developed, the new variants of the engine. So remember, when you actually do this, you may have a higher failure rate than your previous version. Other than that, yeah, same flight. And unfortunately, I laid in this thing. I put too many science experiments on, so this top stage just doesn't have enough delta V to get out of the Earth stuff. So I can take some off the next flight. That's not really a problem. However, we may as well test the rest of this thing. It should just work exactly as before. And it doesn't much matter what we actually do as far as where we're pointing this. So let's just do that. Away it goes. And this is going to go and leave, or at least low Earth orbit, exactly as before. So while this won't get me into interplanetary space, what it will do is get me the orbital perturbation experiment from space high. So if we go out, say, it's about there, and we do have all the antennas activated, that's one important thing. Out we go. And we'll get to space high sometime soon. Space near. Let's time accelerate outwards. It should stop us once we get to space high, I imagine. And the best thing about the orbital perturbation experiment is that, well, it's biome specific. So we should get lots of science. Only 3 at a time, mind you, but lots of science otherwise. And that is a beautiful picture, but lots of science from the Earth itself. So there we are, space high, orbital perturbation experiment, and it's 3 science. But because we're now starting to slow down a little bit, we can just time accelerate forwards. And we should get over more than just the water. There we go, so forest, we'll take and send. And keep going. What's our science total? 26. Well, there's tropics. And do we get some more? Come on. Let's get us over 30. Yeah, there we go. So shores. All right, I'm going to continue doing this. We are in an elongated orbit. We're almost out towards the moon. And in fact, that might even be an encounter if we were heading towards the moon, but we're not really for this particular mission. It is just a flight proving of the Lunar 2. Of course, I think we're going to need more Delta V to actually to do this, or at least less science experiments for this particular probe, just like we did in that first science launch, which is just the Explorer probe itself. And back to Kevin Costner's Waterworld. Yeah, I think we're going to accelerate time forward, and we're going to get this interplanetary communications node. We now got 41 science. I did get a couple more biomes in there. We couldn't get the poles, but we did get the others. So that's interplanetary done. And let's go and take a look in R&D. So where is our interplanetary node? Is that it? Yes, it is. So I think maybe we'll give it a try on these. What do you say the stats were? 4 megameters for this. The previous one was this, which is, sorry, that's 6 megameters, that's 4 megameters. So we should be able to use 2 of these to be the same as 3 of those. That will work. 0.005, so that's 5 kilograms. And what are you? 3. So that'll be 9 versus 10, so roughly the same. Can we do... And that's 8 megameters. What is it for each of these? That's 25 kilos. All of these are heavier. But that is going to be one of our main antennas, probably for lunar stuff. Yeah, so live video from the moon. So if we can get... yeah, let's actually purchase this. We're going to need that. And let's purchase this as well. That's actually quite cheap. And maybe we'll need those as well. But for the moment, I'll spend on them later. 8,000 isn't too much for this one. However, what we've got to take care of with all of those is the amount of electric charge it takes. This is 50 watts, which is the same as that according to the electric charge. What is this one? 1.5 watts. Yeah. We're going to need a lot of solar panels. But that's inevitable. That's something we just have to have, or we have to go into RTGs, which is quite expensive. It's 107,000, and what do you generate? 9 per hour. Yeah, that's not a great deal by comparison to everything else, I don't think, so we will leave that alone for now. So we've got 41 science, so what can we actually spend with that? Again, I think it was it this one we're trying to get to? The Orbital Rocketry node? Yeah, it's the AJ10 mid, and that will massively help what we can actually do. So I think I'm going to take that node, and let's see if we can just rearrange things to head to that next, I think. Let's see what our queue's like. So here's our tech queue. Orbital Rocketry is estimated 323 days, but again, just like before, we've now got an upgrade point. So let's just move this up. And do we want it before? Yeah, I think I actually just want the engine upgrades no matter what. So let's... Oh, available 0, but I have just purchased a science node. Interesting. Do I have to just pay for them now? I mean, I don't mind paying for one. And let's just up that. Okay. 0.8 here. And what are you now? 306. So we've saved, I don't know, 17 days or so. I think I'm going to head to that node. Yep. I know there's a lot of flickering. Sorry, not much I can do about that. I almost wish that wasn't actually part of the time warp. I almost wish it would skip forward to exactly that time. So back into research and development now. And we're going to look at this. So we definitely want this. It's 25,000, but we absolutely want that AJ10 mid. There is no two ways about it. H1 is an upgrade to the LR79 engine that propelled the Saturn 1 and IB vehicles. So we'll probably want that as well. There's different models that we can take. It's 38,000, however. So do think about that, but I think we want it. I think we want that one as well. So let's take it. 237,000. We're going to have to do some more missions. One of the reasons why we want these upgraded engines is, first of all, bigger, longer burning phases. So if we get to the VAB now, let's go and see how that affects our rocket, or the rocket we designed this episode, which is the Interstage variant. And one of the reasons I did that is because the upper stage, the AJ10 stage, we should just be able to stretch as soon as we've got a longer burning rocket engine. And we wouldn't have really been able to stretch that too much further with that previous payload, sort of inner payload engine, if you like, because it would just get huge with the actual size of the tank. This tank is now wider, so it won't take as much length to actually get us where we want. So I guess we got to look at this engine, and we should also look at the AJ10 in here as well. So AJ10, that was what I got, AJ10. Yeah. So AJ10 early, AJ10 mid. Okay, so pressure fed, you'll notice that it doesn't have, like the AJ10 early, ignition's 1, so infinite restarts. So good. So we can use most of our fuel to get to orbit, and then we can use it just like we would in something like my vanilla KSP 1.4 series, of using the rest of the stage as the first sort of translunar kind of thing, if we want to. That's absolutely fine. So what do we got here? Have a look at this. So we've got the AJ10 118E and the AJ10 104. 400 seconds and 300 seconds. I assume we're going to start with this one, so the AJ10 104. So let's actually take you out, throw you away, never use you again, hopefully, and put you in. Oh, we've got to do this rearrangement thing again now, haven't we? Oh, well, let's do that, just to get us practice. I almost could do with practice grabbing the fairings. So let's just extend the height again, just make it easier to work with. Pop this in here somewhere, grab the move tool, choose this, and we're going to snap it into the, I assume that's the middle. Looks like the middle in all dimensions. Yep, that looks fine. Okay, and now let's zoom back out again and reset to place mode, bring the height back down a little bit. Yeah, it might be a bit longer because I think the later phases, in fact, are they longer? Yeah, look at that. The later phases, the entire bell of the engine, this shape here, gets larger on vacuum engines. It's more efficient to do so. So that's something to keep in mind. So then we're also going to have to remove the tanks. And what fuel do you take in the mid? UDMH, IFR, NA. Okay, so UDMH. Okay, so that is 3683. All right, but it's 2 minutes 39. So what do we actually start with? Let's take a look at the engine. So this is the 104. And the 104, I think we said, was it 300 seconds? 300 seconds being 5 minutes. 2 minutes 39. So if we extend this now, length, that, hopefully, one more, 5 minutes 2. Back down 1. That is a 5 minute stage. So you'll see why we needed to, it will be all the way up here if we had that smaller diameter tank. So you'll see why we had to have this redesign. Okay, so now we've not gained that much delta V though. We've only got 12,849, even with a much longer AJ10 stage, just because all this down here has to push that much heavier stage up into orbit. So we are going to need to improve that bottom stage as well. And you'll see that fairing gets longer. So I will sort out staging. Well, let's just call this Lunar 3. Lunar 2 was sort of a temporary thing just to show the redesign. Lunar 3, however, is not so temporary. So LR79 is here, and can we look at the H1? H1. No? Okay, I'll go to my engines. H1 RS27 series. Yeah, that's an upgrade. So we want the one that looks realistic. That sort of has an integrated boat tail, but it does look very Kerbal. Similar engine. Let's just take this off. Put this one on. Okay, so we're up to 12, 9, 11. And let's look at these stats. So, what do you... Whoops. What? I wish that would be predictable. Sometimes it just doesn't work when you right-click. So, what kind of time have we got for this one? Which variant have we got? Well, you've got the H1 Saturn 1. So, the H1 Saturn 1 is 150 seconds. That'll jump up to 180 as soon as we get the next node or the next variant. So 150 seconds is what, 2 minutes 30, and we're currently 1 minute 55, so we can extend this stage as well. Good. So diameter, I guess I should change, but we're not going to. 2 minutes 30. Oh wow, okay, this is going to take quite a... maybe I should... What's our proportions look like? Yeah, maybe I should change the diameter. So diameter coming out to 2 meters. And what have I removed the tanks? What fuel do you take? Engine. You take kerosene liquid oxygen. Fine, kerosene liquid oxygen. So that's 2 minutes 15. We need 2 minutes 30. So what if I got to 2.1 meters? It's just not updating us quick. 2 minutes 28. Okay, 2.1 meters. And then 2 minutes 30.9. Let's just change that to be 2 minutes 30 dead on. So we're now 12,888. And we do actually need to change some of this stage. So you see we're not really gaining all that much delta V, but you know, in total in vacuum. But if you have a look at these figures, they are actually larger than they were before. It's just, I think these boosters now aren't as good, or we need other boosters. This by itself, without those boosters, is only 1.5 thrust to weight ratio, and at sea level that's 1.36, so I'd rather keep those boosters. Let's change the diameter of this to be 2.1, and we could probably bring the length of that back down. What's the cost like of this? 18,866. That's quite expensive. Yeah, and as I actually bring that size down, it gets even more expensive, but it doesn't make much difference beyond this size. Okay. And then we have to tell this that the bottom stage is 2.1 as well, but that should be quick. Yeah, there it is. And we have Luna 3 designed. So I'm not going to fly this episode. We'll fly next episode. Obviously, much better engines, and this is a new engine entirely as far as the part is concerned, but it will have another variant that will be better. And this upper stage one, we will get better variants as we go along. We just need the AJ10118E, which will be another 100 seconds on top. So this should be quite good. What we may want to do is try to get this entire stage up towards orbit. So that may require more reworking in the lower stages to have larger boosters. Because if we can stop using these SRBs or have larger SRBs, or even have 2 outboard LR89s or something like that, we may be able to get most of this towards into vacuum, and then that's when the AJ10 will take over. But that's going to be another day. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. We've got a lot of stuff done in designing a new rocket with new engines, and we're still heading towards interplanetary space. We've already been there with the lightest of experiments, but we want to either have a controllable lunar flight, a lunar orbiter, or indeed heavier interplanetary launchers. So I hope you'll join me in that next episode. I think we're going to try and head towards a lunar orbiter next episode. Hope you'll join me then. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Feel free to subscribe, share as normal. and I'll see you next time.